There's a lot of talk these days about being naughty or nice. And I know there are lists being kept and that they are being checked twice. And so the question that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we end up on the naughty list? And how do we end up on the nice list? These are good questions. We need to know these things. And I think if we think about how we end up on the naughty list, that's a pretty easy list to come up with. Didn't clean my room, I didn't obey my parents, I didn't do something I was supposed to do, or maybe I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. Maybe I was mean to someone or neglectful, so on and so forth. We can make that list pretty easily. But I think it's a little more challenging to think about how do we get on the nice list. Or I'll even up that just a little bit. How do we get on the good list? Or even the holy list? How do we get on that list? Do we start thinking about all those good things we did? Like all the times we obeyed our parents or our boss or whoever, or the times where we did a good deed for someone or gave a compliment or said something nice? Can we think about all of those times we were charitable and loving? And maybe that's what's going to put us on the good list or the nice list? No. None of those things are going to get us on the good list. That's a little bit harder to think of, and I'll tell you why. Our answer today is in the gospel. When Mary comes to visit Elizabeth, Elizabeth says to her, "How can this be that the mother of my Lord has come to me? Who am I that this should happen?" She doesn't say, "Oh, Mary, you are so good. I am so blessed to have you here." She says, "How blessed I am that the mother of my Lord comes to me." She puts the focus not on Mary, but on the Lord. Because if we ask ourselves, how was Mary on the nice list? How was Mary good? Was it because of anything she did? Was it because of anything that she said? No. It was because of what God did in her first. God gave her that grace of the Immaculate Conception and kept her from original sin. God was working in her life before she ever did anything. And she was good and holy, not by what she did, but by what God did in her. And what she allowed God to do in her. That's why Mary was good. And that's the answer for us. That's how you and I get on the good list. It's not by what you and I are going to do or have done. It's about what we let God do in us. Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how many good things we do, that's not going to make us holy. And those are not going to be the things that make us good. What makes us good is being connected to Jesus Christ. What makes us good is having a relationship with God. How blessed I am that the mother of my Lord should come to me. That God is in you, Mary, that's what makes you good. That when God is in us, when we have that relationship with God, that's what makes us good. What makes us naughty and what makes us bad is when we choose not to be in that relationship with God, when we sin. That's what disconnects us from God. And there's nothing we can do to make us good then. Only what God does. That's why Elizabeth rejoices. Because God comes to her. God works in her. She did not have to go searching out God. God came to her. And Elizabeth rejoices because with Mary, they begin to realize that God is saving the world. And in Elizabeth's womb, she carries chapter 1, John the Baptist. And in Mary's womb, she carries chapter 2, the coming of the Savior, Jesus Christ. And this is how God is going to save the world. And we live in chapter 3, where Jesus has given us the sacraments. And he has given us the ability now to be joined to him. We are made holy, not by what we do, but by what God does in the waters of baptism. That's when you and I were made good. That's where you and I were made holy. But that's one of those sacraments that can never be repeated. And so if we should fall from that sacrament, then we have that sacrament over there, reconciliation, where the waters of baptism are stirred up again in our lives and we experience that gift of forgiveness. God saves us. We don't do anything. God saves us. He is the actor. We are the receiver. All we have to do is respond, to put ourselves in God's presence so that he can save us. It's a beautiful sacrament. I can't tell you how many hours this past week I was in that little room over there. I'm thinking about adding a treadmill. That being there, and every confession this week went over the time that was allotted. And I'm going to be honest, normally, I don't like the last week of Advent and the last week of Lent, when all of the confessions pour in, and many times they're just not well prepared. But there was something about this year, because the confessions that I heard, and there were hundreds and hundreds of confessions I heard this year, just in this last week alone, they were good. They were good confessions. They were well prepared and well thought out and confessed deeply. And I was aware that there was some spirit going on here in this community. There was something happening that was beyond me and any one of us, because there was an overwhelming sense of joy that I had, and the quality of those confessions was amazing. And it made me deeply, deeply proud of my family. And I can say that one of the things as a priest, I am so privileged to be in the confessional, because I'm probably the only person in this community that gets to know people as they really are. Here's what I struggle with, Father. Here's where my weakness is. Here's what's not me and what I desire to be. Here's where I need God in my life. And it is so beautiful to see people without any masks, or without trying to be something else, or without putting on any airs, that this is who I am, and I want God. And it is so gorgeous and so beautiful. And I understand why St. John Vianney is the patron saint of priests, because he did two very simple things. He brought his small parish in France to reconciliation. He would sit there hours and hours every day, up to 12 to 14 hours a day. He would be in the confessional to be available for his people, and he brought them to the Eucharist, to a deeper understanding of who was at our altar. Those are the two things that make us holy, nothing else. Now, hopefully we go out then and do good works. Hopefully we go out from that room and from this table, and we go live good lives, and we do good things, because we have met Jesus, we are holy, and because I'm holy, I have to share that holiness and that goodness with the rest of the world. And if we keep responding to that, I'm going to tell you, there's going to be something awesome that is going to happen in this parish this year. As long as these communion lines are, I pray that those confession lines are just as long on a regular basis. And I hope that as we become more and more holy and let God get deeper and deeper into our lives, things are going to happen here that are going to blow our minds. Because God is making us good. God is making us holy. We respond to him. And if I have to add extra confession times, I rejoice to do so. Because I don't need to write more articles, and I don't need to chair more meetings. There are other people who can do that. I can forgive sins. Take advantage of that. Let's do that. Use the priest that is here for what the priest is ordained to do, to bring God's holiness. That's why Elizabeth rejoices. because she recognizes God has come to us and said, here is everything you need to be holy. Do you want it? Do you want to be on the naughty list? Do you want to be on the nice list? We know how to do it. We just have to let God work in our lives to make it so.